All right, welcome everybody. If I haven't met you, I'm Paul Whitkay, the founder of the Alliance of CEOs, and welcome to the 11th edition of our series of AI roundtables. And today we're going to be discussing how CEOs are identifying ROI use cases for AI agents. And before we start, I can't help but recall back, because it was 5 years ago today, on Friday, March 13th, 2020, when I was sitting in an Alliance Group meeting in South San Francisco in the Eli Lilly boardroom, and we were informed we were going to shelter in place in 4 days. So it's been 5 years from the time COVID hit, and a lot has changed. I mean, the world is changing at a pace I don't think I've ever seen in my lifetime, and there's been a lot of change because I think I'm older than most of the folks here. But we learned how to use Zoom, and now we have folks here zooming in from Australia, New Zealand, and across the U.S. ChatGPT was launched just 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and so we're talking about AI and how it's changing the world. And the world's going through some extraordinary, uncertain times. There's a kind of a new world order is being talked about and worked on. And so the world's changing faster than ever. And I really believe these are times when leaders really need to come together, share what we are learning, what we're struggling with the opportunities that we see, and really just gain some fresh perspectives and really gain a better, more clarity as to what everybody's dealing with and how the world's changing outside of our own bubbles. So thank you for joining us today, and I am happy to welcome our moderator, as always, Matthew Swanson, the managing partner of this software, the Silicon Valley Software Group, and also the new entity, Motion Enterprises. And Matthew, why don't you introduce our guest today? And
yes, and excited to continue our conversation from last time where we showcased AI agents in action. So if you all joined us last month, we showed how agents can now click around software just like employees, which opens up whole new categories of automation. We left off with a very active set of breakout sessions where the common theme was that most people in this community are convinced that AI agents will have an impact on their business, but a lot of people are still struggling to figure out where to start. So one of the hurdles to getting started with any new technology is determining where and how to apply them in order to drive value. And that's what we're going to cover today. Today's discussion is going to center around how to identify ROI use cases with AI agents, so the return on investment. So we're going to start with a set of slides to frame up a discussion with our guest CEO, Umair Aziz, and hopefully these talking points make their way into the breakout sessions so we can all learn from each other on how we might apply AI in our businesses. Okay, so with that, let me share my screen and go through a bit of a primer like we normally do on this topic of ROI use cases. So we're going to cover just two topics real quick before we jump into the Q&A. We're going to discuss this new level of automation that AI agents provide for. So a quick primer on trying to wrap our heads around these new capabilities, and then we're going to get into an approach that we like to take at Motion with our clients on finding revenue drivers and selecting use cases for setting AI agents up for success. So in the past, we've talked about AI agents. It's been about the past 8 sessions now, and we've approached this from different analogies. We've compared AI agents to employees, how they all have similar ways of acting in the world, and analogies are helpful, especially with new technologies, so we can start to really understand the intuition behind them. And so today we're going to share an analogy of AI agents with self-driving technologies. So we've all, we're all very familiar with driving a car, and there are some similarities in what's happening there in automation and what's happening with software. So the simple kind of primer here is, if we look at vehicles from the past, right, the original cars were purely mechanical. There were no AI automation enhancements. And similarly, when software first came out, you were in a spreadsheet or a command line, right? So those were, we might consider that level 0. The next level in automation came when a couple decades ago we had cruise control. You could push a button in your car, and all of a sudden it automatically would control the velocity. The same thing happened a couple decades ago with software, where we had rules engines. So like in Salesforce's Journey Builder, you can set up different steps. You push a button and the software does it all for you. Fast forward a decade, so about 10 years ago, we started to see cars introduce more advanced cruise control, like maintaining distance and maintaining their lanes. And on the software side, we saw machine learning do predictive analytics. Tools like Einstein came out, and it was mostly tech companies investing in these machine learning models, doing more predictive type of use cases. So now we catch up to ChatGPT, where it was very recently Tesla came out with their Copilot. If anyone's ever done that, it's pretty cool. The car can almost drive in every situation, but no one would trust a Tesla to drive by itself. You're going to be behind the wheel just in case. And it's the same thing with ChatGPT. It's helped a lot of us here compose better emails, and it's helped our employees be more productive. But none of us would let ChatGPT send an email by itself to one of our valued customers. And so this is really the breakthrough that we want to highlight here, is AI agents introduce this new level 4. And so in the self-driving world, that's a Waymo. If you've been to San Francisco or Los Angeles or Austin, you may have experienced this, where you can now completely rely on the car to drive by itself. You can be in the back seat. You could be watching a movie, getting work done, completely disengaged from driving. That's a fundamentally different experience, and that's what we're starting to see happen in software, with AI agents that can perform tasks that would normally require employee oversight. They're now able to do completely on their own. So that's the breakthrough that we've been talking about. Hopefully that analogy makes sense. We're not going to cover level 5 here today, maybe in a year, but just as kind of a preview, there's going to be still a lot of challenges on orchestrating AI agents in between departments. Just like it's going to be a challenge to get cars to drive from city to city and state to state, and the jurisdictional issues there. But today we're at level 4. That's what we're talking about here today, how to apply these level 4 agents. There's some leave behind slides here we'll share after, if this topic is interesting to you. But the main topic we have here is, how do you apply them for ROI? So there's a lot of ways you can look at return on investment. You can look at it from revenue, from cost savings, from risk modeling. We like to look at it from the revenue perspective at Motion. Here's a simple revenue bow tie that people are probably familiar with. Everyone can recognize revenue when it happens at the decision stage, when someone signs a contract, or someone pushes purchase on the shopping cart, right? But there are steps before and after that are also revenue events, right? When somebody comes to your website, that's the beginning of a journey that is going to lead to revenue. Similarly, let's say you're running an ad campaign and people start clicking through on the ad or coming back to your website multiple times. That's another signal that you're probably going to get revenue coming up pretty soon. Further down, you have people submitting lead forms, and traditionally you call those marketing qualified leads. And so lots of teams try to organize these events so that they can predict when revenue is going to happen. And it's a useful way to identify where the revenue opportunities are in anyone's business. So every business is going to have different KPIs, different key performance indicators like this. And this is a good way to start. So once you know where your revenue driver is, or where you want to make improvements, you can start to look at how do you start changing those KPIs? How do you influence your customers? Well, you have to interact with them in some way. So, as a couple of examples here, in the engagement stage, when you're trying to get people to click on an ad and go to your website, so they're going to have to look at a display ad, right? Once they get to a landing page, you're trying to get them to sign up for an email, but they have to come to the landing page for that to happen. So you can start to look at all these touch points that your customer has to get through in order to make those KPIs happen. And then finally, once you know how to move your customer through the process, then you can start looking internally at the jobs that need to be done in order to make those customer experiences happen. So in the display ad example, you may have one or more employees inside of your company making these display ads happen. Somebody might be creating the content. Another person might be designing the overall campaign. And then someone else is going into LinkedIn or Google to manage that whole process, right? If you're trying to get people to book sales calls, there's probably a sales development rep who's emailing back and forth to make that happen. So this is where you can start to look at AI agent opportunities, right? We looked at the KPI, we looked at the touch points, and then the jobs to be done. And in the past, you would have an employee maybe using technology to assist them in getting some of this work done. They might have used Salesforce's email journey builder to automate email sequences. Maybe they're using ChatGPT today to help with their emails to book calendar events. But now we're starting to see AI agent tools that do some of these jobs to be done all by themselves. So for booking calendar emails, there's tools like 11x, Reggie AI, Ava by Artisan. These tools, they're blowing up right now because they can do some of these jobs to be done all by themselves, and that frees up employees to think about higher level tasks. So this is really a way that we can all start looking at opportunities to get started. There's a lot of new use cases like this, and that's where we're going to turn the discussion now with our guest speaker. I'm going to switch over here and introduce our guest, Umair Aziz, who's the managing partner of Creative Chaos, where Umair is helping businesses scale smarter and more profitably by leveraging AI. He is actively working with AI-powered workflows to rethink pricing models and prove the ROI value of AI-driven workflow augmentation. So topic is near and dear. And Umair, thanks for joining us today and sharing your insights. To get started, we usually like to go through a couple rapid fire questions just to orient us with where you're coming from. So, a couple quick questions for you, 30 seconds or less. What's one of your favorite AI tools?
Thank you for having me. So I've been spending a lot of time on Claude Sonnet these days. ChatGPT operator is really a lot of fun, and also playing around with speech, 11 Labs.
Excellent. Yeah, no, great tools. around voice and AI productivity. Another question for you, put us in your shoes. What's one of the most challenging business situations that you've had to overcome?
So over the past year, we've been trying to transform our services business into a solution or a product business. We understand that a lot of customers, a lot of business owners are trying to figure out how to bring AI into their organization. And we don't think that this is going to be similar to how customers came to build websites and then web applications and then mobile applications. This is going to be different. So we're not thinking of our business as a services business anymore. And that's been a very big challenge for us. We don't have a solution for it. We're just experimenting and learning as we go. But that has been something that has been top of mind every single day for us.
Yeah, well, I think we can all relate to that, trying to figure out how we're going to adapt our businesses to AI. All right, and then finally, just to give a sense of where you're coming from, what's one core value in your business that you prize the most?
I think the most important thing is that whatever we do, there needs to be value that can be realized. We just don't want to talk the talk. We want to help walk the walk and then ensure that results in profitability. So we're very, very adamant on helping our customers win. If they don't win, we don't win. So that's a core value for us.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing. Let's get into our main discussion here around identifying and quantifying ROI of AI agents. Many people here are just getting started on their journey. Maybe they've personally used AI, but now want to set up a production deployment. Let's start off with, what are some best practices to setting up an AI initiative for success?
So, when I think about small businesses, medium-sized businesses, most folks are still struggling to identify what needs to be done. And my answer to them is you just need to pick any department in your company and try to map out the workflow in that department. What are the tools that you're using? What are the activities that you're performing? Because all of these activities can be done by AI today. Whether it's reviewing something, researching, comparing, analyzing, recommending, all of these things, there's an opportunity for AI agents to help you with it. So it's going to be an internal consulting assignment for you to map out the journey, map out the workflow. And if it's not documented well, you won't be able to choose the right tool or build the right agent. Building comes later, documenting comes first. And then once you've documented your workflow, once you have an understanding of what are the different areas that you can go into, you just need to pick one of them. Take baby steps. Either find a tool that you can bring into the organization or build one, and have a key stakeholder work with whoever's building or whoever's integrating and take full responsibility of fine-tuning it. AI out of the box just doesn't work for businesses. It gives good answers, but are they the right answers for you? Are they going to be something that you can use every single day without thinking twice whether it's giving you the right answers or not? And that only comes when you fine-tune. So, document, pick something small, test, validate the results, and whether you're going to build your own agent or you're going to take advantage of existing applications is something that is part of the discovery process as well. So there are two paths that you can take. One is either you build and deploy a custom AI agent, or you take advantage of all the applications out there and see if something can be integrated into your workflow.
Yep, that makes sense. I think at a high level, the analysis paralysis syndrome is easy to get caught up in. So finding somewhere to get started, somewhere to build that muscle memory makes a lot of sense. Maybe to ground that discussion, I think a lot of people are still on the search for inspiration in terms of use cases that can kind of motivate how they might look at opportunities. Once they go through and document their business processes, they still need to have some tangible use cases in mind that they're looking for. Are there any examples that you've seen taking off in your customer base? Any use cases you're excited about?
Absolutely. So, you mentioned the sales bow tie, and I think that's one of the areas where we're seeing a lot of AI tools and agents helping out with lead qualification, prospecting, email follow-ups, calendar scheduling, marketing copy. We're seeing a lot of work on customer support. So, I'm particularly very excited about voice agents, how they're able to, take care of so many different use cases, whether it's, being a concierge or a support person, even AI chatbots for support. They're really resolving real customer concerns and problems. Even issuing refunds, without having to go through, 2 or 3 different approval processes. So taking away human intervention. We're also seeing a lot of work in the finance and accounting space. So categorizing transactions and processing invoices is something which agents are doing a really good job. And then finally, recruitment is an area where we're seeing AI being able to screen, filter resumes, scheduling appointments and interviews, really reducing the time to find quality candidates. Those are just some of the ones that I've been looking at and been very excited about.
Yeah, well, I think you've covered almost every function of a business, which really speaks to the impact that AI is having. It really is across the board. And the main topic for us here is that we're going to go into the breakout sessions talking about is around setting up an AI initiative for ROI. So in the slides we talked about one approach of looking at revenue drivers. What's an approach that you can share with the group on, once you've mapped out your business process and you have some use cases in mind, how do you go about setting up your initiative for ROI?
So ROI is not just about cost savings, right? It's about efficiency and revenue and scale. In a very simple way to determine ROI, let's take an example. You've got a sales guy who spends 1 hour doing something, maybe updating the CRM or prospecting. And if that work can be done by an AI agent, you're saving 5 hours a week, 20 hours a month, and maybe 250 hours a year. That amounts to something. And you have to understand that, if this guy's is a $40 an hour resource, 250 hours, $40 is about $10,000. Now, if you can use AI to reduce that and make this person spend that time doing something more productive, you win. So the ROI calculation for me is very simple. What is the hourly rate into hours divided by the cost of AI? So if the agent that you're using costs, let's say, $100 a month, $1,200 a year, you divide 10,000 by 1,000 or 1,200, and you get almost 9.8, 10x return on this specific agent. It's very easy to calculate this. But in order for you to do that, you really have to map out the process, identify where in the journey are people doing repetitive work, where in the journey are people doing things that AI can do today. Uh, there are three or rather four main areas where you can see that impact, right? You can see the impact in sales. You can see how reducing manual work can increase costs, can increase your savings. You can see the efficiency gain, and you can also see that your product, if you are using these tools, may be helping customers in a better way, allowing you to grow the business. So that ROI is not just a plain and simple metric. You have to look at the impact on revenue, on savings, on efficiency gains, and on the innovation that you're getting out of using these tools.
And so just kind of flushing that out a little bit more, right? So you talked about some of the return aspects. You can look at return in a number of ways. You also shared an approach of looking at what the costs would normally be without AI, and kind of measure that improvement. Yeah, maybe share a little bit of what you're seeing in terms of AI agents in the workforce. How are companies, we were talking about this kind of new level of automation where AI agents can completely do certain tasks and support employees on other tasks. Are there any approaches you can suggest for measuring that attribution of where the value creation is happening?
It has to be done on a case-by-case basis. So one of the things that we have to understand is that your investment in AI tools is not an IT expense. It's not like buying a SaaS subscription or upgrading a cloud service. AI agents are not just a tool. They are doing a lot more. And you have to think about, when you bring in an employee into an organization, are you thinking about the ROI of that employee? Or are you thinking about, by bringing this person in, I will be able to do X, Y, and Z? And it's that X, Y, and Z which ultimately result in the value to the organization. So these agents are very different in terms of how we need to think about them as an expense. You need to start small. You just don't want to hire the most expensive guy out there. You want to bring in someone, train them, work with them, and then double down on it. You do the exact same thing with these AI agents as well, or these tools that I'm talking about. Ultimately, it's not about how much do you need to spend on this or what the right amount is going to be. It's about, what are my people doing in my company, which is repetitive? What are the things that my best guys are doing, which if someone else could help out with, they would be able to achieve a lot more. So I always like to, talk to the best employees that I have and say, what part of your job do you hate? And maybe, we should start from there. That's usually one of the places where there are opportunities for these agents to come in and immediately start giving you more value.
Well, this is a big topic and something we're not going to cover here and do justice in 30 minutes. But thank you for priming the talking points here. We're going to move into the breakout session so we can all share our own experiences and ideate together on approaches to measuring ROI. Before we hop over, just going to note that at the end of this session, we're going to share out a resource for the group here with tools that people in the community are using. We really encourage people to talk about tools I think that's something we all find valuable, is learning from each other, what's working, what isn't. So stay tuned for that on the debrief. And again, any tools you can share, the moderators will be on the lookout to share with the wider group. So with that, Paul, let's break out.
All right. Well, thank you to Matthew and Meyer to set the stage. We are going to go into the breakout groups, and we've got about 50 minutes here before we're going to return back to the lobby to just to summarize what we've learned. And as Matthew said, we are putting together a database of all the recommended tools out there that members are using and learning from. So with that, we're going to open up the rooms, and you should have a alliance director in there to make it all happen. So see you in 50 minutes.